Hello, my name is John Rines, call sign KA1TDQ. I live here in beautiful downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. Picturesque, perfect. The operations that I'm doing. So what I've done is I've built a new and improved portable satellite communication antenna. Now I've made a few systems to effectively talk through amateur radio satellites and the International Space Station. And I keep trying to make a smaller footprint. And this is my latest creation. So what it is, and the reason why it's improved, is because if you look at commercial satellite antenna manufacturers such as Arrow, you'll see those guys, and they'll be twisting and turning the antenna during the satellite pass to get a better signal. Well, this eliminates that. You don't need to do that. And it actually has a smaller footprint than theirs are. And I'll explain all this in excruciating detail. So the reason why you don't have to twist this antenna is because it uses the magic of dual polarization. Now what dual polarization does is it gives you polarization diversity in a 90-degree plane, okay? So when you're pointing at the bird, or the satellite, or the space station, if you will, you don't need to turn it because your radio signal is being broadcast in multiple vectors. So that's on both the uplink, the 2-meter section here, and the 70-centimeter antennas right here. They're both on one stick, all right? So how I've made the 2-meter footprint smaller is I've used dual polarized Moxon antennas. So basically what these do is they just fold in the reflective element and the driven element to make it physically smaller. This is 29 inches wide. It makes it a lot nicer to fit through doorways, and it does so very well. My other antenna was a full size, and I was always trying to get through doors. It was awkward. Now I can just walk in and out, no problem at all. The duplexer, which separates your 2-meter and 70-centimeter signal, is mounted right on the boom. This one I've just bought from Comment. You know, it's got a little star for where the A is, all that good stuff. And now here's the thing. There's an impedance mismatch when you try to use dual polarization. You have to make a 50 ohm radio see a complex impedance as a perfect match. And there's some magic to that too. So you can use quarter wave matching stubs with 75 ohms and all that stuff. I experimented with that before my last antenna. It did work, but it was complicated. It was so much tuning and pruning and things like that. I used an educated guesstimate. So on this one, I used RG11, which is 75 ohm coax. You have to use odd multiples of the wavelength. I guessed at 37 inches, and it turned out to be pretty good for both bands. These are roughly 37 inches. I paralleled both driven elements on both bands. All I had to do to get the match right was solder on little tuning stubs on the driven elements for both bands. You can see them right here. Well, anyway, on the driven elements, I had to add tuning sections. And I just held the antenna in place on the table, and I just kept cutting until I got a perfect match. Well, I got a perfect match on 70 centimeters, literally on the International Space Station downlink frequency. This is, the SWR is 1.0 to 1. It's a perfect match. On 2 meters, it's a little complicated. You got a big antenna with a complex bush of copper staying next to your body. So I got that down to 1.5 to 1. 1.5 to 1 is a pretty darn good match still, for a guesstimate. So anyway, I've got 2 elements on 2 meters and 6 elements on 70 centimeters. When I'm talking through the International Space Station, you can't mistake it because I am in there. I'm a dead quiet, armchair copy. I can hear them and they can hear me, no problem at all. Those guys using those Arrow antennas doing the flippy floppy, you can tell those guys because they're fading in and out of the satellite or fading out of the space station. This eliminates that. All Home Depot products by and large. I got a bicycle handle, I got a 1-inch wide dowel, 36 inches long, and some copper. You know, you cut up a coat hanger and you do the same thing. And I had to order for some RG11 from DX Engineering, but we won't talk about that one. Anyway, hope to hear you on the radio. I hope to actually hear you and not hear you sputter and sputter. Anyway, 73 is catch you later. downtown Salt Lake. You stay there. Don't move. Sit. Now this is awkward. Getting him to sit sometimes is a hassle. You have to lean it against something. Yeah, I got that done. All right, 73s.